Welcome to the DTV podcast presented by Bless Your Heart Nonprofit Corporation. I'm Raj Jumbo, and I'll be your host, filling in for our regular host, Brendan Mathern, as we speak to some of the most interesting people up and down Bayou Lafourche. The Cutoff Youth Center is a well-known establishment down the bayou and is home to the Hurricane Fest, South Lafourche Biddy, the Hurricane Swim Team, and many other activities. It also seems to be home to a few other things on the spooky side. We definitely have our fair share of stories and folklore down here, but today we'll take a deep dive into the happenings at the Cutoff Youth Center. Today we sit down with Delane Chasson, director of the Cutoff Youth Center, and Tommy Rodrigue, longtime teacher, now retired, and paranormal investigator. Delane, Tommy, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
So Delane, Tommy, I really appreciate you guys coming today. We start off every podcast with, tell us about yourself, tell us about your family, and the famous DTP question, who's your mom and dad?
I'm Delane Chasson. My mom and daddy are Deanna and Danny Givens. I'm originally from Houma. Moved here in 1984. Went to South Lafourche my sophomore year and graduated at Tarpon.
I'm Tommy Rodrigue, and I'm married to Danielle Brunet Rodrigue. I'm the son of Danny and Elaine Rodrigue. Both of them were teachers, so I guess it was meant for me to be a teacher. I have one child, a son, Ross. He's at Nicholls State. I currently retired, like you said, from teaching. After 33 years, some people might know me from 12 years at LCO, and then I spent 21 years at South Lafourche High School, and my specialty area was physics. Some people might know me from being a musician in bands. For over 30 years, I've been playing mostly guitar, and I bowled in majority of my life in leagues. And like you said, I'm an amateur paranormal investigator since the mid-'90s.
I remember you from LCO.
Oh, okay.
That was our dealing. So Delane, we want to start off. Can you give us a summary of the Cutoff Youth Center, maybe some history, what activities goes on there, and specifically the role it plays in the community? Yeah,
so the Cutoff Youth Center the pool was actually built first in 1968, and the building followed around 1973. It started with families in the community putting up $1,000 promissory note to build this, to make this happen, and a lot of volunteer hours of putting the floors up, the walls, hammers. Miss Sandra Sharamy and Mr. Ronnie Sharamy used to talk about it, that, like these people actually put their blood, sweat, and tears into this building. So the Cutoff Youth Center was built on a lot of love and for the community and a place for the kids of our community. So we were home to Cutoff Youth Center Hurricanes Biddy basketball team, which became South Lafourche Biddy. And then we have our Hurricane swim team. High school swims there. We have volleyball teams that practice there. We have boxing. Boxing started there in the early 80s with Barry Guidry and all of them. His dad coached him. I think those coaches are still present. So there's bingo, of course, every week, every Wednesday night. And anybody that needs the youth center, we're there for them. We have weddings that are hosted there, and we also do a lot of repasses there.
As you're talking about, I'm thinking there's cornhole.
There's so much that happens.
What's the new pickleball?
Well, they tried pickleball there a couple times. It just didn't work out. No.
That's starting to be a big thing.
It is, yeah. But cornhole for sure every Thursday night. Those guys are dedicated.
Yeah. Yeah, so my kids use the Cutoff Youth Center a lot for Biddy basketball. Mm-hmm. I was a LaRose guy, so I was at the LaRose Civic Center, but we like the Cutoff Youth Center. And we just had our gala there, too, so it worked out pretty good in that venue.
We have our Hurricane Festival. Some people are in the misconception that Hurricane Festival is about hurricanes. It's nothing to do with hurricanes. No. It was about our basketball team. It was about our swim team, and the queens, when they have their pageant, their crowns as a hurricane symbol. So we're not celebrating hurricanes in the league, but a hurricane is strong, and we're strong.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, back in my day, I guess I'm old enough I can actually say that now, but we had LaRose Cutoff, Galliano Golden Meadow, and it was Cutoff Hurricanes.
Yeah.
So Tommy, you do paranormal investigations. I always knew you as a teacher. I didn't know you as that, but that really piqued my interest when I did find out that you did that. So tell us how you got into it, what seemed to be interesting about it, and that such?
Well, it was the mid '90s, and that's when shows on TV, like Unsolved Mysteries and stuff, became popular, and Ghost Hunters started coming out. And so naturally, the kids at school, since they'd see those shows, would ask me questions and tell me stories about what they experienced. And I taught a science class, so I decided, well, I might as well bring that up and in my lessons, because I always try to have things that the kids are interested in. And so I taught a little lesson in my energy chapter about how scientists could investigate ghosts and equipment, and it pretty much stayed in all my lesson plans up until I retired. And the kids always liked the lesson. Then I decided to buy my own equipment and start trying it myself. So as the years went by, I just added more and more equipment. And it was a way for me to use my science background in a way that I could either show that it existed or show that it didn't exist. Because at the time I was a skeptic. And basically, I mean, the overall theory is that, in the lesson of what I used to tell the kids is that, spirits seem to have, if you believe in ghosts, they seem to have electricity and magnetism, EM energy, that's left over when a person dies. And I would always explain to the kids, I wouldn't make them, want to believe one way or another, but that energy comes from the nervous system, and it works by electrical impulses. And obviously we have a lot of nerves and a lot of electrical impulses. So where does that energy go? So the law of conservation of energy says that energy can't be created nor destroyed. So if it's not destroyed, it has to go somewhere. So does it go off into the universe, or does it stay in the environment in one place? And the theory is that ghosts are pockets of EM energy, electricity, magnetism that's left over or imprinted in the environment. And our senses seem to be able to pick this up. And so all the equipment used is, basically to pick up the energy from the EM spectrum.
So tell us how you go about doing a paranormal investigation.
So it starts out with an EM meter. I mean, like electricians have this. They go, you can detect how much electricity is or like magnetism is in the environment. That's probably the most important piece of equipment. And high levels usually mean more activity as far as spirits are concerned. But you have to rule out normal sources like fans, computers, outlets, and cell phones and things like that. Before and during, I don't like to know details about what I'm investigating to be objective and scientific. There was this private home down the bayou, and the EM meter never registered. I went through the whole house, went everywhere, and they were saying, they have hauntings and things, and they have visitations by spirits, and I never saw anything except for one spot. When I got to a bedroom, it was at the corner of the bed near the floor, and then the meter went off, and when it goes off and it's high levels, it's a red light and flashes and makes a noise, and when it went off, the family started crying. And they told me that's where the person had died at. It's the only place in the entire house that it was registering. I mean, is that a coincidence?
Yeah.
It's hard to explain that, and that happens often. Usually the meter finds the place that there was supposedly somebody that died. So an EM meter is a big deal. A ghost scanner, if you watch those shows, ghost investigations, what it does is it scans through radio stations continuously, and it hits a station, and it moves on to the next one. And the theory is that spirits can take this energy from the radio station, whatever the broadcast is saying, and use the words of the broadcast to help answer your questions. It's not like they're using their own voice. They're manipulating the broadcast. That's the theory. Most of the time you get some nonsense answers and stuff like that, but it wasn't down the bayou, but at the Myrtles plantation, we had gone there quite a few times, and our person that usually in my group that asks the question said, who is here with us? That was the question they asked. And it gave the first and last name of the tour guide. Mm. And the tour guide, I can't say his name, but the tour guide had an unusual name. It's not like a common name like John
Jack
or
Smith.
something. Yeah. Wasn't something like that. So again, is that a coincidence? The tour guide was even shocked. Like, didn't know what to say. And then the third piece of equipment I like to mention, because it deals with the cutoff youth center investigations, is a REM pod. It's a short cylinder with an antenna that comes up, and it sends out a magnetic field. And the theory is that if ghosts are in the environment, then they can disrupt that magnetic field, and then it goes off, and it could register a green light if you ask it a yes or no question. It could come as a green light, or no would come as a red light. And we were in a private home. Like I said, I can't mention the private home, but it was down the bayou. And our person that asked the question asked, "Do you like us being here?" And the red light came on. So okay, well, what are we doing wrong?
Right.
And then she asked another question. She said, "Do you want us to leave?" And the green light came on.
Wow.
And that was the only time the light came on the whole session. So again, is that coincidence or not? But we left. We didn't stay.
Right. So I didn't realize that there's like a group of people. I mean, you do this often? Is it a weekly thing, monthly thing?
It's we haven't done it in a couple of months. It's been kind of slow.
Gotcha.
But it'd be about once a month, and it's we kind of nickname ourselves the Bayou Paranormal, BPI, Bayou Paranormal Investigators. But we don't advertise it because, like, I know when I was teaching, I didn't have a lot of time, and all these people work. If we would put it on Facebook, we'd probably get calls like to go every weekend, and so you just can't handle that.
That's cool. Yeah.
But I mean, if anybody listening has something they want to investigate, just contact me.
Right. I guess that probably gives answers for the person that owns the house or the person that runs the building or whatever. But I mean, if you really have an interest in it, that's probably cool for you to just. I mean, it's like playing a game, or it's probably fun.
I get to use my whole background in science.
Yeah.
And I don't go into these places telling people, well, this you got to believe this, and we don't have a medium or nothing like that. So it's very interesting, but it's very eye opening. And what I find is that I help people. Like, people say, well, how much you charge? I don't charge anything, because especially private homes, when you help them. If they're making contact with a spirit and they truly believe they're making contact, it helps them with closure. So I feel like I'm helping people by doing it.
So Dylan, we mentioned the Cutoff Youth Center, and you post a lot of cool videos and pictures and stuff on Facebook about, I guess, things that go on at the Cutoff Youth Center. But give us a background on what some of the things that you've experienced, and what kind of led to getting Tommy and his the BPI to come by and check out the building.
So working there, one of the things that happened, my granddaughter was there. Her brothers were playing ball on the court, and she was playing on one side, like in front of my office. I could see her. And she stopped, and she was just staring at the front doors where the stairs are to go upstairs. She was just staring, and she had this look on her face. So I said, "What's wrong, Celine?" She starts walking to my office. She says, "That mean man is staring at me, and he looks very angry." I said, "Who?" And I'm looking on the camera, and I didn't see anyone. So I got up and I walked to the door, and I said, "Who?" And she said, "Him, that king." I said, "A king?" She says, "Yeah." And then she says, I said, "Well, come in the office with me." So she comes in the office. She goes back and looks. She goes, "Oh, he's gone." So she went back out to play, back onto the court. And me and her mom sitting in my office going, "What's that about?" So then we're all out there on the court with her, and then she says, "Oh, look, he's walking that way." So she was following him. She could see him. We couldn't see him. And she watched him walk past the women's bathroom, up to the stairs, into the stage. And so she pulled me along with her to go follow him, and we got to the stage. I turned the light. She says, "Nope, he's gone again." So that was odd, and that was before I was seeing stuff on cameras. So then I started looking to see if there was things on camera. And, when it's nighttime and you see orbs coming from the ground going up, that's not dust falling. Dust doesn't fall up. It's not bugs. We've already gone, my husband and I have gone at night. I'm standing in the gym and he's watching. I could see the screen and I see this stuff around me, but you're not feeling anything. It's not bugs. So how do you explain it? Another time, a friend and I were in my office, and we both could hear banging coming from the boxing gym
Now the boxing gym is
on the side of the stage.
right side of the stage upstairs.
Correct. So it was coming from that back corner, and it sounded like someone was banging on a pipe with a pipe. And I said, well, Mr. James must be back, which at the time was my maintenance guy. So I looked on the cameras. I don't see his truck anywhere. So she and I both started walking. And as soon as we started getting to the stage and the doors, like, we both got goosebumps completely. And as soon as I touched the door to open the door, it stopped. The banging stopped. And she was refusing to come in. I opened the door. I went in, looking around. I see nothing. Nothing. Then just as I turned to leave, there was another noise. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to see more.
Oh, it's time to go.
Yeah, so we went back to the office. So, like, and then there was another instance where he and I went on a Sunday morning. That's what I mean. This doesn't just happen at night. It happens during the daytime. Mm-hmm. A Sunday morning, we went to open the gym for our cutoff fishing club. They had something going on, or it might have been a Saturday morning. We went to open the gym, and I just turned on a couple of lights. We went to get the tables and chairs out, and there was a party that had happened like the night before. There's some balloons that had gone up to the sky, to the air. They'd come down. So all these balloons are laying on the floor. They're yellow and white, but there was one red one. So as we're walking, this one red balloon lifted up off the ground, and it comes towards us, and it's following the court line in front of the kitchen, coming right towards us. And I'm like, where's my phone? Do you have your phone? He's like, no, we both left our phones in the truck. So we watched it. Now, mind you, the kitchen door to outside is wide open. That balloon came towards us on the court, turned into the little hallway, went into the kitchen, and went behind the door of the kitchen where the apron's hanging and just dropped to the floor. Now, the air didn't suck it out the door. It was moving, and I want to say head level, because that's how it was, like head level. And I think that was the craziest thing that I witnessed personally, is to see this balloon lift up and then go into the kitchen, just drop. So he's like, you want me to get rid of the balloon? And I'm like, no, let's see what happens and then when we come back. So when we came back on Monday morning, the balloon was still there. It never moved after it would dropped right there.
Behind the door?
Behind the door in the kitchen. Yeah, that was crazy. Another balloon story. These balloons. It was a happy birthday balloon that was at the top of the ceiling, and it had come down to level of the bleachers. If you went up in the bleachers, you could take it down. So I had asked him to get the balloon down and put it in the garbage. Later, I'm sitting on my desk, and I looked up, and that balloon's passing in front of my office. Now, there's nobody else there. He was cutting grass in the front. That balloon's just passing in front of my office. I could have went and grabbed it, and I did. So I went and grabbed it, and I went and stuck it in the garbage. I popped it, stuck it in the garbage. So when he came in, I said, by the way, I got the balloon. And he says, no. He said, I got the balloon. I said, no, you didn't. It was passing in front of my office. I grabbed it and went and put it in the garbage. He said, I'm telling you, I took it down from the bleachers, and I put it in the garbage can under some bags. And somehow that balloon came out from there and was passing in front of me.
So it was the same balloon?
Same balloon.
Wow.
And it said happy birthday on it. When my birthday was like a day or two later. It was kind of crazy. But yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot of things that have happened. We've witnessed personally, and noises and sounds. My husband was washing his hands in the bathroom, getting chlorine off his hands, and he hears a woman's voice say, the phone's ringing. The phone was ringing. But nobody else was there. It was just him. Doors were locked, And he's like, okay. So when I got into work that morning, he was waiting outside. He's like, yeah, I was like going back in. There's other people who have witnessed hearing woohoo when there's nobody else there. So
I said, now I'm going to be on alert next time I go listening for woohoo.
Woohoo, yeah.
So with all these experiences going on, how did you come about getting Tommy and his group to come and check out the Cutoff Youth Center? Yeah,
so I'm telling my kids about the stuff happening at the youth center. They're like, "Oh, Mr. Rodrigue, Tommy Rodrigue does that, Mom." I'm like, "What?" Yeah, he investigates. So I messaged him on Facebook, but he never saw it.
Oops.
And then, like, I don't know. I don't really remember. I want to say it was Helene. Helene tells me that she's friends with Tommy and that they do this. They go, Helene Melisson, that they go and investigate. And I said, yeah, I want y'all to come and check it out, because you just want that science to go with what the feelings are that you're having, and what you think you're seeing and what's happening. So when someone can come in with the science end of it, it validates what's going on. You're not crazy.
Right. So Tommy, you get the opportunity now to go to the Cutoff Youth Center, utilize your knowledge from teaching, your equipment that you have. Tell us some of the things that you found, some of the experiences that you had at the youth center.
First of all, Helene did tell me, about the Cutoff Youth Center, that she had talked to Deland and all, and I told him, don't tell me anything, and until I investigate. I don't want to know what's going on. I don't want to, hear any stories. So I went totally objective into it and not knowing what to expect. So I went first with the EM meter, and I found a lot of high levels of electricity and magnetism in various spots in the building. And there was a couple of spots in the seating area at the top, and the meter would go off and register high, and then it would go. It would not register at all. And I didn't know what was going on with that. But every time I've gone there, how many times I've gone? With three or four times. On the stage, I've had a lot of high readings on the stage. By the trophy case, I've had high readings by the trophy case. The hall near the kitchen area, that seems to have high levels. My personal investigations with the group, it was the most readings we've gotten was from the boxing room upstairs, and it was very high. Different. It's very, it's kind of very spooky with the lights off and stuff. And the reason, and I told him, leave. We went at night. Leave the Cutoff Youth Center like it usually is at night, because if a spirit, theoretically, if a spirit is going to want to make contact, it's easier for them to manipulate energy at night and make themselves know. Because if it's during the day with a lot of noises and stuff like that, it's hard for them to make themselves know. That's why a lot of stuff happens at night. I didn't get any communication in the building with the REM pod. Okay, I'll save that for a little while though. We did the Go scanner, and went through stations.
The Go scanner is the radio.
The radio with they scans through the stations. So I was in the stairwell, and it was the stairwell leading to the second floors. And I decided to do it in there because I had the EM meter had gone off a couple of times, and I asked a series of questions, and there was no logical response. It was a lot of just gibberish, or
like you'd be running through stations.
And you hear the little broadcast and all. Whenever you get a message on the scanner that's supposedly a spirit, it doesn't sound like a radio station. It sounds louder, and it sounds like a different voice. So when I asked a question, all of a sudden, in a very, very loud voice, and it was not a radio station broadcast, said very loudly, "Stop asking questions." Well, I stopped. I turned it off and I left. But you could hear it throughout the youth center at the bottom. People, they would say, "You heard that? You heard that?" And I was in the stairway, and you can hear it out in the court and all. That was unnerving for me. That stuff like that doesn't usually happen all the time in an investigation. I've seen afterwards, I've seen some of the surveillance video footage. Some things scientifically can be attributed to dust and flying insects, but some can't. Like when you said, like the dust was rising instead of falling. A lot of video surveillance tries to focus in on the closest object it can, and most of the times it's dust particles or flying insects, and it looks like orbs. I know orbs is a big deal. Orbs are not always spirits, but the video surveillance, the surveillance video I've seen of the movement of objects was very unnerving also.
Like what was that?
Balloon. She had the balloon.
Was there a basketball or something? Wasn't there a video of a basketball?
Person, shadowy like figure walking across the
street.
The street. Things like that's hard to attribute to just flying
what looks
insects
like
or
footprints
dust.
Underneath the pavilion. Footprints were walking like in front of the kitchen, but outside.
Like I looked at it closely, and there's some things I can't explain in those videos. In the boxing room is where we had our sessions, a lot of our sessions, and the EM meter, like I said, was registering very high. But I did notice during one of the sessions, it was dark in there, but I had had a light on it. that big punching bag that's hanging down started going back and forth like a pendulum. A couple of inches, it wasn't a lot. And I thought, okay, well, maybe, there's air currents, the air condition, but the air condition wasn't on at the time. I thought maybe somebody's moving or whatever, or, shaking the floor, or, yeah. Then all of a sudden, it just stopped. Not stopped like slowly stopped, just stopped dead, complete stop. That's scientifically, that's hard to explain too. Dylan, if you don't mind, tell them about March. You remember?
Yeah. While we're on the boxing subject, though, I want to tell you about the boxing coach and his student. So there's a boxer. His name's Bridgewater. He was up there by himself, and a little while later, I hear him on his phone, and he's coming down. He's like, "Yeah, coach. How much longer are you gonna be? Yeah, about 15 minutes. Well, I'm gonna wait for you outside. Yeah, I'll come back when you get here. So I said, Bridgewater, what's wrong? You okay? So he gets off the phone. He says, Ms. Dean, I ain't no punk, but I don't do ghosts. I said, what you talking about? He says, I'm telling you, this place has got ghosts. He says, I'm up there. He said, I'm punching the bag, and he could hear like someone lean. He heard someone walking up the stairs, and he could hear someone lean on the banister. And he just kept punching because he's thinking it's his coach. And in his head, or he hears a voice, he says he's not sure which it was. He just heard punch like this, do like this. He was getting direction, so he started doing it. And he turned and said, like that. He said, and there was nobody there. He said, so I went, okay. So he went back to punching again. He says, and he heard it again. He's like, yeah, I'm going to leave now. I'm going to come back when coach gets here. I said, oh, okay. But I asked the boxing coach about it. And he said, yeah, he's been in there before. Jimmy Owensby is our coach. And he's heard walking up the stairs. Mr. James has been in that back room, and he heard a woman's voice saying, hey, what you got? And he thought it was me. And then my other maintenance man heard it also. Scott heard it, and it wasn't me. There was no other woman there. Don't know where that voice came from, but it's a very active area, to get back to that. But in listening to his recorder, it said March. It was saying March, and it did say money too, didn't it?
There's another piece of it. Now that you're saying that, there's another piece of equipment called an iOvilus that works on. It works on a cell phone, and supposedly they can manipulate the EM signals like microwave for a cell phone. And when we turned it on, it said March, and it said something about money.
Yeah. And at the time,
more than once.
Yeah, and at the time, I mean, we were struggling. We were having some financial difficulties at the youth center, and I said, "Oh, joking, maybe we're going to come into some money." And then in March, whatever month this was that we were doing it, it was in March. We did get like a substantial donation to the youth center. Yeah, it was. So like, it was pretty.
Texted me, and she goes, "You're not going to believe this, but
yeah, it was like prediction of.
We had no idea what March meant at the time.
Yeah.
How you explain that? You could attribute it to coincidence if you want, but when you see scientifically all these things start lining up and the meters and then you start questioning, like, is there really something going on?
Well, I think that's what's cool about the work, I guess, that you guys do is like, you don't have to go in believing, but you can go in with this equipment and you can provide this factual data, and say, like, this is what I got. And it's up to you to make that decision whether...
It's more objective.
Yeah. It's up to you whether you're going to say, no, that's bull, or, yeah, I guess there is something. I can't explain it,
Also, what I found was interesting, it wasn't in the youth center itself, but it was right next door. I took that REM pod that I wasn't getting any readings with in the building, and I took it outside by the cemetery. I didn't go in the cemetery, but I had it outside of the... where the tombs and all were, in the grass. And as soon as I put it down, those lights started flashing. I mean, you usually get the red and the green light, but usually you don't get the purple and the other colors, going off at the same time. And I immediately took the EM meter, and it was flashing red. And I traced out a line from the cemetery all the way to the the door where the kitchen is to go into the like it was a line straight going over there, as if energy was focused in that area to the center.
Path.
Not nowhere else outside except that line and near the cemetery. Those are the things I found in there from a scientific standpoint with the equipment.
Right.
I have met with a medium there since investigations were done with Tommy. I had a few friends. It was 6 of us there with this lady, and she was right on target with a lot of us, with me especially. Like, she had no idea who I was or what was going on, but her immediate words when she walked into the building and she was looking around, was the first time there, she said, "This place is full of angels." I said, "Really?" She says, "They're everywhere in here." Yes. She said, "This is a very good place." So I've never had negative energy in the building. I've never felt anything negative. So her saying that to me just helped justify what I was feeling, because I've never felt that.
And honestly, being in there 3 or 4 times investigating, I've really never felt threatened or like it was something negative or unsafe or evil, or if you want to say it, but I've never felt that way.
Gotcha. So, why boxing?
Well, boxing, when the youth center started, that was the big thing there.
It was. Okay.
It was boxing, and we had 2 very big personalities in there. Mr. Barbier and Mr. C.J. Guidry were, if you knew them, very big personalities, and they were very present, and they were there a lot with these guys and coaching boxing. You know, I think that's why that area is so big. I think the king that my granddaughter saw was a king of Versailles. One of the if he wasn't the first king, he was one of the first kings. Mr. Savoy, Mr. Ray, had recently passed. And there was a big shakeup with how Versailles was running their balls. They weren't parading. They weren't doing the ball the night before the parade anymore. They went 2 weeks ahead or a week ahead. A lot of the older people didn't like it. There was some pushback on it. So was he angry because the balls were happening like that? Possibly.
Maybe. Right.
You know, and they would get dressed upstairs, you know, so the king going up and down the stairs, that made sense to me. A lot of it just makes sense to me. I think, you want to hear what I think?
Sure.
About all the people there?
Yeah, no.
So
I mean, that was going to be one of my next questions was, what do you think? Like, what, I mean, you spend the most time in there. You came with an objective mind to go and investigate this. I mean, what do you think is going on in that
So
business?
in my opinion, I think, and then the more people are there, and especially when there's a lot of children there, when everybody leaves and it gets quiet and it's dark, that's when you see most activity. But I think it's who we bring in there with us. I think they're always with us. Our people that have gone on before us are there with us all the time. And I think it's their energy that we feel, that we see. And that building, like I said, it was built with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And a lot of people who were involved in that center coming together, I think are still part of that. And, you know, it doesn't help or it doesn't hurt that a lot of them are buried right in the front. So it's easy for them to come and visit, maybe, you know.
Right.
But I think that's what it is. I think we never really truly leave. I think we stay.
So tell me, what's your thoughts?
I'm going to kind of piggyback on that, but I'm going to also add, you had asked about why the boxing room. From a scientific standpoint with energy, the air conditioned units are very close to that boxing room. So if spirits want to manipulate energy to contact and see that they're there, they have a ample amount of energy supply near that boxing room and those stairs and everything. So that's a possibility, you know, scientifically speaking, using the energy if it's spirits. If I say my opinion scientifically, there's not enough physical evidence to conclude, but I will say there's too much evidence to just dismiss it.
Yeah.
That's from a scientific standpoint. My personal opinion, okay, I think if it's spirits, I think it's like she said, like it's deceased people who are close to the Cutoff Youth Center, since it's construction probably. possibly maybe even buried in the cemetery, that they're following that line to get there. I think they're using the EM energy in that line to the cutoff chute center, and I think they're protecting the owners and the building itself. And like I've said before, I don't think it's anything malevolent. I think it's all benevolent. I never felt any instances of any kind of evil. I would like to get some more equipment. I'm thinking about getting some new equipment, different kind of stuff that I've been researching, and do another investigation over there, if she don't mind, one day. Once I get a little bit new equipment.
Now you got all the time. Man.
I got a lot of time. I don't know about money, but I got more time. It's something I like to share. I tell this to every client, especially private homes, okay, but also, like in the cutoff chute center, okay. I say this all the time. My job is not to tell you what to believe. Because being a teacher, as a teacher, your job is never to tell students what they have to believe. It's to let them decide for themselves. So I'll present the findings and let the client, form their own conclusions. But I will, I always ask them this question. This is the basic question I leave them with. Is it, whatever's going on, is it the spirit of the deceased using the energy in the environment to communicate? Or is it the EM energy causing our own nervous system to see and hear things that really aren't there? It's two ways to look at it. Mm-hmm. You can either believe it's a spirit, or you can believe it's just our, nervous system going on overload. I'll let them decide, and that's the teacher in me. But I will say this: Halloween, okay, is the time when supposedly that portal between the living and the dead opens a little wider, and that veil is a little thinner. And that's usually on investigations when the EM levels increase everywhere. And 99% of all the things that I investigate, I can usually have a little scientific explanation for. We've only talked about a little bit. I didn't include the 99% that I can scientifically explain away at different places. But there's always that 1% that you can't explain.
Right.
Okay, and that's why we keep investigating. I've gone from a skeptic when I started to pretty much a believer out of all the things I've seen.
Mm-hmm. So you said Halloween. What about full moons?
Full moons, biologically speaking, it does affect our bodies and our nervous system. Just like animals that have their reproductive cycles around that time, our cycles are also based on that also. So I think there's a heightened sense of, nervous system overload at that time. So that may be a time when you can maybe sense more than you usually would when it's not a full moon. Because there's different times that you can sense things a little better than you can other times. Mm-hmm. That might be one time.
No, so when I between high school and deciding that I didn't want to work in the medical field, I worked at Lady to See. Full moon on the third floor. Full moons was very active for like psych issues, as well as in the evenings. So they call it sundowners with people that have like Alzheimer's and stuff. But like in the evenings, activity ramps up in those people, as well as when full moons are out, people go crazy. And we could probably talk to Brandon. I'm sure he could back that up with.
It works like that in the school system too. Yes. I don't have any numbers to back it up. I have no percentages or whatever. But I noticed that whenever there's a full moon, kids usually act up a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And I would be willing to bet if you looked at the detention rates and stuff, it was probably more a full moon than it was when
there's some correlation.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a full moon the last few days. So.
Yeah.
So I got one more story. Miss Janice, who always would complain because nothing ever happened for her. She never witnessed anything, experienced anything. She could hear music playing. It was like a child's toy playing music. And so I wasn't there. She went and get Carl. He was there. And he went and opened up the attic because that's where they went to the concession. They could hear it coming from the attic between the two floors. And when he pulled open the door, the music stopped. They never heard it again after that. But I did have one of my electricians had to go do some work up in there. And he told me he doesn't want to work up in there anymore. And I asked him why, and he said, I saw shadows I shouldn't have been seeing. I'm like, what? Yeah, so it's not he didn't enjoy being up there.
Right.
Because it was something going on he couldn't see. But the music, yeah, it stopped playing. It was a child's toy, and there was no child's toy up there. There was no music. Don't know where it was coming from.
Right. Well, look, I really do appreciate both of y'all coming and give us, the background on this, because the videos have always piqued my interest. But it's just interesting to, sometimes you just get these feelings that you can't explain. Like we get the frissons, but Tommy, I think it's awesome that you can come with a scientific background to just say like that 1%. Try to explain it.
But those frissons that you get, it might not be imagination.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So before we leave, we usually do a round of rapid fire questions with all our guests. So you can give an answer, a one-word answer, or just, expound on your answer. It's up to you. So you're ready? All right, we'll go Delenn, then Tommy. So Delenn, first, if you had a final meal, what would it be and who cooked it?
My grandmother's shrimp stew.
Not cheese fries?
No, I hate cheese fries.
Every time we go to the basketball game, my little girl's like, Daddy, I'm getting cheese fries. That's her go-to. So Tommy, final meal, what would it be? Who cooked it?
It would definitely be my grandma, and it would be fried pork chops and patate frites, or French fries if you don't speak French. But my mouth watered every time she cooked it.
Some fried pork chops are good. So the next one, jambalaya and white beans. Does the white beans go on top or on the side?
On the side.
On the side.
On the side, yeah. I'm on the side as well. We had enough after the hurricane, so. So favorite snowball flavor?
Coconut cream with condensed milk.
I like coconut.
From where?
I get them from the Chill Out.
Oh, okay.
I really don't eat like snowballs in the last 30 years, because every time I eat sugar, I get like a headache for 4 days. Yeah. But I really like coconut.
Coconut, yeah. Coconut is a good flavor. So a roux, do you always make it fresh or do you use it from a jar?
Fresh.
Always fresh.
I don't cook. My wife is a really good cook, but she use it from a jar, but she can also do it fresh.
Yeah.
And I'll rather it fresh.
Hey, sometimes if you're busy, you got to do what you got to do, right? And the last one, you go to down to buy a wedding. What song do you know for a fact you're going to hear at that wedding?
The Wobble.
The Wobble, yeah.
Tina Na and Matilda.
You're the second one that said Matilda.
It's probably because the Solid Foods band plays it.
Right.
And so people are so familiar with it, even though it's such an old song, that they hear it at parades, they hear it at the football games. And
right.
So they'll probably request it.
Yep. So Delenn, if somebody wants to find out more about the Cutoff Youth Center, where can they find y'all on social media or the internet?
The Cutoff Youth Center has a Facebook page. They can reach me there.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And Tommy, if anybody needs any paranormal services, where can they find you guys at?
I'm on Facebook. We don't really have a site for our group, but I'm on Facebook, and you can PM me, anytime, and I'll get back to you.
Okay, cool. So, guys, thank y'all again for coming. We definitely appreciate it.
I thank you. It's been an honor.
Thank you. This was fun.
Well, that'll do it for this episode of the DTB Podcast. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok at the DTB Podcast, or get more episodes on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. To find out more about Bless Your Heart Nonprofit, you can visit our website at www.blessyourheartnonprofit.com. That'll wrap it up for this episode, and we'll see you next time.